It is time for our Union Strong segment. I am very pleased to welcome Mike Somone, who's the Vice President, Union and Commercial Services at ABOC. You might think, wait a minute, Amalgamated Bank of Chicago, why are we talking about a bank if it is our Union Strong segment? Well, Mike is going to explain that to you. Mike, how are you today?
I'm very good, Joan. Thank you very much.
Okay. For those people who didn't hear our last Union Strong segment with ABOC, they may be going, wait a minute. You know, they're supposed to be talking to, like, the sheet metal workers. Now we're talking to a banker. How does that Union Strong? Please explain, Mike.
Well, first off, Joan, ABOC, which is the former Amalgamated Bank of Chicago, has been around for over 102 years. We have
That's
some
how
of
old
our
I
owners
am.
are union. Some of our owners are unions. We're about 20% owned by unions, and we take pride in working with our union brothers and sisters. We know the business. We know about unions. A lot of the workers here are covered by a collective bargaining agreement, so they belong to a union with full benefits, good wages, retirement benefits, and a pension. So we know the lingo. You know, we've been dealing with them for over 102 years, and we're proud to say that.
Mike, this may seem to be beside the point that you just made, but why does an organization, especially one that's been around for so long, why change your name? Aren't you concerned that will confuse people? What is the upside of Amalgamated Bank becoming ABOC?
Well, one of the most important things is it's a lot easier to pronounce, and we won't stumble over it every time we introduce ourselves or set up our voicemail. But, the real reason is we wanted to make it simple. We wanted to define ourselves as a bank built on a solid foundation over all these years. And it was time for a rebranding. You know, we're moving into the future, and we want to expand a little bit, and we want to improve our base. And by rebranding and coming up with a simple ABOC, we feel that will help us.
If I'm, I am a union member, but I'm SAG-AFTRA. We don't exactly, we don't build a lot of buildings at SAG-AFTRA. But if I'm in a trade union, what is the advantage to me to coming to ABOC as opposed to any other of 1,000 banks I could go to?
That's a great question. What we try to pride ourselves in is the union knowledge, whether it be their daily operations, their Taft-Hartley investment money, their pension plans, their welfare plans. Every day, local unions have different types of priorities than a normal business would have. They have per capita taxes. We know what per capita is. If a business manager or an office manager.
Can you explain that one to me?
Per capita yes, I could explain it, of course. Per capita tax is what locals and union organizations pay to either their international affiliate or to their local building trades councils or their local federations. They pay a certain tax per member.
That's not. You're not talking about union dues.
Capita.
This is not union dues?
No, it's not union dues. That's different. Per capita is what the local union pays for an affiliation.
I see.
An example would be the carpenters, the Mid-America Carpenters. The locals pay a certain fee to the Carpenters International, and that's called per capita tax. The per capita tax is due quarterly, monthly. It all depends on what organization you're paying that to. That per capita is very important. It has to be paid by that date. If you're a local in good standings and you don't pay your per capita to the international or to your parent organization or to one of your federations that you belong to, those organizations, those internationals, those federations, they frown upon that. So when a business manager or an office manager calls me and says, Michael, our international hasn't received our check yet. Our international, we had a misunderstanding. We have to get them our per capita tax. What's the fastest way to do it? We're going to get that out. We know how important that is to them. We're going to get a wire sent to that organization immediately because we understand the importance, and it's a timely thing. It's a timely thing. Nobody wants to be late on any type of bill, whether it be a union, whether it be an individual. We've had customers come to us and say, I'm done with such and such a bank. They messed me up on my per capita tax. They had no idea what it was. They made us jump through hoops to send a wire. We know what that is. We know how important that is. If a union or an organization has a payment to be made to Blue Cross Blue Shield for all of their members on the health and welfare side, we know how important that is to get that payment on time. Mm-hmm. We understand that. A lot of other banks don't understand that.
I understand what you're talking about. I am one of my banks is I like to have an account at my local bank, which is great. I mean, I have to walk 3 blocks if I want to use the ATM or something. That's really convenient. But one thing I've noticed over the years, and I don't know if this is just my local bank or if this is something that happens a lot in the industry, sometimes it feels like every time I go into the local branch, there's all new employees. It's like they get a lot of them appear to be right out of college, and I swear 5 months later I walk into the bank and it's a whole different crew. And I understand what you're talking about because there have been times, some of them, obviously are very well trained, but sometimes it's like I feel like I have to explain to them what I want to do and how to do it and how, oh, we can't do that. Well, actually, and you can. Actually, you can. And, right. This is how it works. I shouldn't have to do that. What kind of training do you give your people to be aware of all the particulars of working with unions?
That's another great question, Joan. I will tell you that there are people at this bank, Amalgamated Bank, and we have our ABOC, I should say. Excuse me, I'm still saying that.
ABOC, it's a name change, buddy. Get with
years.
It. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've been here 40 years, 30, 40 years. And many of them have come through the ranks. So they started out as union members here, hourly union members here. So they do have that union background. That was one of the, not a requirement, but that was one of the reasons why I got hired originally here 12 years ago, because I had the union background. And working in union services, they always want somebody that has the union background, and there are others here that have union backgrounds, extensive union backgrounds, and that was probably contributed, to several people being hired here because we know unions. And also when somebody comes in and starts fresh, maybe another banker from another bank has joined us, they will go out with us to functions and they will meet the union leaders. And we will spend time. I've done several aspects of training new employees, and I have spent weeks, months with those individuals explaining the union business to them.
I know that you're one of the vice presidents at ABOC. You just talked about being involved with training. What are, other than training and being on the radio, what are the other things that you do with ABOC, Mike?
Well, I'm also a relationship manager. I have a very large portfolio of some of the largest unions in Chicago, and I'm very proud of that. But the thing that I'm most proud of is I also teach financial literacy classes to our young apprentices and the apprenticeship programs. And that gives me just a great feeling. And there are no other banks that are going around talking to apprenticeship programs, teaching financial literacy to our young up-and-coming tradesmen and women.
That's how do you do that? Like at the Union Hall, or how does that work?
We have done some in Union Halls, but the majority of them are right at the apprenticeship schools.
Oh, you go to them?
Yes, we go to them and we set it up usually with the directors, and there's been occasions where we will only give one seminar, but there's also unions that will book us for 8, 10, 4 per year. And there's others in our bank that could also give those financial literacy classes. But I take a lot of pride in that. I've been doing that for a long time, and it makes a big difference. They're not taught this in high school or grammar school anymore, Joan. The unfortunate thing is, what we bring to them is on a very basic, simple program. And some people really don't know what a money market account is. They don't know what a CD or a certificate of deposit is. They don't realize that they currently have to pay attention to their credit score.
Yeah, or the difference between an IRA and a Roth IRA. I mean, I was very late in life that I started really starting to grasp some of these terms, and I wish I knew in my 20s what I later learned in life.
Exactly.
I was, there were no financial literacy classes available to me. It was kind of like you had to be self-taught, which had varying degrees of success.
Yeah,
really.
But, the nice thing is, like I said, I've been doing this for almost 12 years now, and I can tell you a brief story of how it does make an impact. I had somebody come into my office probably about 6 months ago, and it was a young lady, and she was just becoming a signer, an account signer on one of the union accounts. And she says, do you remember me? I says, I've seen you around, you look familiar. Says, well, she says, several years ago, you were giving a class at IBW Local 134's apprenticeship school, and I was in that class. Well, I gave several classes there, and there was 80 to 100 young people. And she says, I remembered you. You gave us a lot of good information. I says, well, I'm glad that it helped you, and evidently it did, because now you're going to be in charge of some money situations, so that's a good thing. But
Excellent.
Those are the things that make me feel good. Those are the things that make me feel good.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That kind of to see, because I used to teach, and you never know what becomes of the students. You never know in the long term whether what you offered was of value, and how nice to run into someone who said, yes, I remember you, and you really helped. That's great.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, we need to take a break. I'm talking to Mike Somone, who's vice president at ABOC. They're a bank that works closely with unions. This is our sponsored Union Strong segment. We'll be back with more after this.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT 820.
This is our regular sponsored Union Strong segment. I'm talking to Mike Somone, who's a vice president in charge of union and commercial services at ABOC. ABOC is a bank, but they are a bank that has a specialized skill set in dealing with unions. Mike was just talking about how he goes out to apprentice programs to do financial literacy classes. I know, Mike, you have a long history of working with the unions. What are some of the other union jobs, related jobs that you've done?
Well, my longest period of time I spent with the Hotel Workers Union, HERE. I was there for just about 14 years. I started out as an organizer, then became a business rep and finished off my career there as a elected officer, recording secretary of the local. And that was a great experience because, again, helping people, seeing them reach their goals and get a good living wage with representation and health and welfare and a defined pension. When it all works and it all comes and gets put together, it's a really good feeling. It's a really good feeling. I will always be a strong union member.
So you've been on both sides of the union equation. By the way, again, I need you to enlighten me. What exactly does a union business rep do?
Represents the workers.
At the negotiation table?
In every aspect, Joan, from the time they're hired to the time they retire, a good business representative works for the membership, not for the boss of the local. They work for the members.
So you're the ones they come to with their questions. How do I do this? How does this work?
Yeah.
I see. How did you end up at ABOC?
Well, I was working for a union, and I did know some people that worked at Amalgamated. That's what it was called at the time. And we were talking, and they said, we have, quite a few people retiring. How would you like to come work for us? I says, well, I've got a pretty nice job now. And they says, well, will you just listen to what we would like to offer you? And I was always, pretty good with numbers and contract negotiations. And I went a couple times and met with a couple of the top officers here at the bank. And before you know it, they called me one day and made me a very nice offer. And it was probably the best move I ever made because I really love it. I really enjoyed my time here, and my goal in life is to help people. And you know what? It's not about how I feel. It's about making a difference in people's lives. And a lot of people here at ABOC, that's what their goal is, to help people.
Well, you were helping union members when you were working with the hotel union people, and you have a different venue, but it's the same job, helping people, union workers from another location with a different skills that they might need and different information they might need.
You are correct. You nailed it. That's exactly right, Joan. Exactly correct.
One thing when I talk to the different trade unions, I think people are always surprised to hear that it isn't just all about, yes, they want training, they want safe working conditions, they want good salary, they want a reliable retirement. But every trade union I've ever talked to also finds ways to give back, to support communities with their time, with their skills. I know that that's also important with ABOC. Talk to me about some of the ways ABOC gives back to the community. Well,
ABOC is involved with so many different organizations. The same kind of programs that I put together for the apprenticeship programs, we have a junior achievement program, which goes out to schools, some types of youth clubs, park districts, and they give similar courses on financial literacy. The beauty of that is we could go out to children that are from kindergarten all the way through high school, and we have different types of programs through junior achievement that we could put on display. We deal with Habitat for Humanity, and we have a women's bill where a couple times a year our women's bill team goes out and works with Habitat. We do things with food drives and DuPage pads for the homeless in DuPage County. Also, we have a loan department that's exceptional, providing opportunities and housing for people that are in a little bit of a tough situation. But those are just a few of the organizations. The list goes on and on. You don't have to be involved with the union for us to support the community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I know that one of the organizations is something called DuPage Pads. Are you familiar with DuPage Pads?
Yes, I'm familiar with that.
Tell me about it.
DuPage, yes. I've been involved with a few of those activities, basically because of my office is actually in western DuPage County. So the beauty of this is they supply homes and housing for people that are homeless. They have gone out and bought properties, hotel properties, and through their fundraising and through their grants, they have remodeled some of those hotel rooms. And we have been a sponsor, and we have been a strong supporter of DuPage Pads. We have actually gone out to one of the facilities out near Lombard or Downers Grove, and on a couple occasions, bank workers have gone there, and we have supplied a dinner for them, and we have served them with smiles on our face and given them a hot meal. And that's a real nice thing. That's a real nice thing when you see how happy they are, and you see people that are just a little bit down on their luck. They're all trying, but it's going to take a little time. And we've supported them financially, but we've also supported them as human beings and done the right thing and gave them a hot meal for dinner.
I know that is wonderful, and I think that every company, every organization should find a way to support their community. Hey, I know you have a lot of stuff on your website. Talk to me about what kind of information people can get off of it.
Absolutely. You could go right to our website, aboc.com. And right on the first page, near the top, there is a banner. It's all in red, and it's titled Financial Literacy. And they could click on that banner. They could find a lot of information right there, the same information that we go through in our programs. There's also a vendor on there called EverFi that they could research, and it's all free. It's all free. You know, Joe, nowadays, younger people especially, they have their iPads, their phones, they have Google, they have Chrome, and they'll type something in there about buying a new car, and all of a sudden, there's 5 million different links of car dealers and all kinds of information, and they don't know what's good and what's true and what's false, and then they're going to be bothered with all these different emails. Go to our site. You want to buy a new car, there's information there. You want to buy a home, you want some financial knowledge, it's all right there, and it's all free. You don't have to be a customer. Just go to aboc.com, click on the top banner, Financial Literacy, and there's a world of knowledge there. A lot of questions can be answered.
And you don't have to be a union member to access it.
Absolutely not, and it's all free. And no one's going to bother you. No one's going to. You're not going to get hit with 1,000 emails in the next 2 days.
And I know that you have to register, but when you register, does that mean that you're going to be on a mailing list?
Nope, you will not be tracked. Nope, you will not be tracked. It's completely free. And that's the beauty of it. And if you save the link, the URL, you don't have to do a Google search. You don't have to go to Chrome or Firefox or whatever a search engine that you have on your iPad or your phone. Just go to aboc.com. Go right to the top. It's right on the first page. I welcome everybody to use it. There's a lot of valuable information there.
I love when valuable information is provided, and especially when it's free, Mike.
I hear you. That's right. But and we urge people, when we give our apprenticeship program, when we speak with the young people, we try to tell them, share this with your brothers and sisters, your friends. Share it with your parents. Maybe your parents, their parents, they raised them. They got them to where they are today. Maybe their parents are at a point where they're getting ready to retire. They're getting ready to sell their home. They're getting ready to possibly buy a new summer home or a camper to go out on the road. Share this information with them. Mm-hmm. They may not be very computer literate, so they helped you. They raised you. Now it's time to share it with your parents, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know that my son is a software developer, and sometimes when I have computer problems, I call him, and he'll say, Mom, this is the third time you've asked me this. Hey, you know what? I raised you. You
owe me, right?
Exactly. Mike, it is a pleasure to talk to you. Mike Somone is a vice president at Aboc. It used to be Amalgamated Bank, but they want you to know they have a new hip, cool name now. It is Aboc, and they do a lot of work with unions, which is why they are part of our Union Strong segment. But they also work with just regular folks, too. And again, if you go to their website, aboc.com, you can get lots of good financial information and advice. Mike, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Joan. It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.